Today we're going to go ahead and take some of the equations that we've been working with and talk about how to convert from one form to the other. We've already done a little bit of this, and that's the first one, point slope to slope intercept form. But we're also going to add in standard form there and changing back and forth between slope intercept and standard form. So here are our three forms. We haven't talked about standard form for a while. We talked about this last unit, ax plus by equals c. Slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and then point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So these are the three forms we need to look at. You need to read the directions to figure out which form you should be changing to. Okay, so here's our first case. If we change from point slope to slope intercept form, which we've done in the past, we've done a lot, you're going to distribute first and then solve for y. So let's go ahead and do a few of those problems. Okay, so all I'm going to do is get rid of my parentheses by distributing the negative 1/5 through. So I have y plus 4 equals negative 1/5 x, and then negative 1/5 times negative 5 gives me a positive 1. Not sure? Check it in your calculator. So there's my first step. Second step is to actually solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So I'm going to do y equals negative 1/5 x, and then 1 minus 4 gives me negative 3. So my final answer here is in slope intercept form. So we're good. Biggest mistake that I see on these is that students make mistakes with their signs, so be really careful. Like a negative times a negative gives us that positive, and then make sure what you're canceling. So if it's a plus 4, make sure you do the opposite, subtract 4. Okay, let's go ahead and do B, and then I'll let you try the next two on your own. We're going to go ahead and distribute the negative 6 through. So I get negative 6x minus 6, and then go ahead and solve for y. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. So negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So there's my slope intercept form. Go ahead and hit pause. Do the next two. Have them checked, and then you can move on to the next type. Okay. The next step, we are going to convert from standard form to slope intercept form. So standard form has x and y on the same side and my constant on the other side. For slope intercept, we need to get the y by itself. So we're going to move the term containing x. We're going to typically subtract it. Divide by the coefficient, the number in front of the y, and then simplify it. Okay, so those are our steps. Helps to see them. Okay, so first one. My first step is to move my x. So if I have a positive 5x there, I'm going to move it to the other side. Okay, so those cancel. I'm going to bring down my negative 2y. And then I can't cancel the negative 4 and negative 5x because they're not like terms. So I'm going to put negative 5x minus 4 there, so that it's in the mx plus b form. Okay, so there's my first step. My second step is to divide by the number that's in front of the y, and I'm actually going to divide everything by that number, so see how I kind of split it up there. So the left side cancels to leave me with y, and then I'm going to simplify. Negative over negative gives me a positive, and then reduce if you can. 5 halves doesn't reduce, so I'm going to leave that, but the two negatives do change it to a positive there. Okay, and then negative 4 over negative 2, I can actually divide that to get a positive 2 there. Okay. Let's do one more. Kind of see where we're at here. Okay, so our first step is to move our x over. So if it's a positive 6x, we're going to subtract 6x from both sides. So we're left with negative 5y equals, and then remember I can't combine those together because they're not like terms, so I'm going to rewrite that as negative 6x plus 25. The second step is to divide by the number in front of the y, and I'm going to divide each part by that. So my negative 5's cancel, and then negative 6 over negative 5, I can't reduce the numbers, but two negatives would make that positive. And then 25 divided by negative 5 gives me negative 5. Okay. Again, I'm going to leave those next two for you to try. So go ahead and hit pause, try them, have them checked before you move on. Okay, the last type we're going to convert is going the opposite direction of what we just did. We're going to change from slope intercept to standard form. So we're going to add or subtract the term containing x. We're going to multiply everything by the denominator of the fraction, if there is one. If there's not, we can skip that step. And then change all of the signs if the x is negative. If the x is already positive, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so first step. Anything that has the x gets moved. So I'm going to move that back over by my y. So I have negative 1/2 x. It's a positive y. And then I'm left with the 3. These cancel out. So my first step is move my x back over. So I'm going to cancel it, either add or subtract. My second step is to multiply everything by the bottom of the fraction. So if I multiply everything by 2, doesn't look like it. I'm going to do 2 times 1/2. They actually cancel out. So I'm left with just the negative 1x there. And then 2 times y is 2y. And 3 times 2 is 6. My last step then is to change all of my signs if this x is negative. Since the x is negative, I'm going to make it a positive 1x. But I'm also going to change all my other signs. So I have a negative 2y equals negative 6. This is in standard form. I typically don't write the 1 there. You could, but you don't have to. Okay, let's do another one. We're going to move our x over. So if it's a negative 2x, I'm going to do plus 2x on both sides. So 2x and a positive y equals 1. Second step is to multiply by the denominator of the fraction. We don't have one in this case. So we're going to skip that step. And then the last step is if this x has a negative out front of it, we're going to change all our signs. But again, we don't have anything there, so we're going to leave it. Okay, so that one's pretty easy. I'm going to do one more with you because that one was so simple, just so you can see another fraction one. And then I'm going to have you try the last one on your own. Okay, so I'm going to move my x. So I get 2/3 x plus y equals 6, because these cancel. Sorry, that's a negative 6 there. And then my second step is to multiply everything by the denominator of the fraction. Well, in this fraction, my denominator is 3. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. I'm going to do times 3, times 3, times 3. These cancel. So I have 2x, 3y, and then negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. So first step is to move my x. Second step is to multiply everything by the bottom of the fraction. The third step is to change your sign if the number in front of your x is negative. It's already positive there, so I don't actually have to worry about it. So this is my final answer. Okay, so we've gone through the 3 types of converting. I know that that's a lot, and we're going to keep practicing these for the next couple days. Try this next one, have it checked, and then once you're done with all of these, I will give you your homework.